Mine's more a bit of a bone to pick with God, Jesus.
Sorry, bones to what?
Bone to pick with God, Jesus. Why did God not allow homosexuals to reproduce?
Well, the best... So I'll just fix this. Just fix what's going on here. Everything looks fine here. It's not true that God didn't allow homosexuals to reproduce.
Why does God not allow me and my girlfriend to produce a child which is a mixture of our genes?
When you say, why didn't God allow it, I can't still see how God didn't allow it. It's just not how you would like it to be allowed.
Okay. Why do straight people have the freedom to create a child that's a mixture of them both, and whereas homosexuals aren't afforded that freedom?
Well, there's a lot of error in your question. Firstly, a child is not a mixture of the two parents.
I knew this was going to come like this way.
A child is not a mixture of the two parents.
Okay.
A child is a child of God that incarnates into a body that is the mixture of two parents.
Okay.
So does the body really matter?
Yeah, I knew you were going to come from this angle. So
And
are we
supposed
to adopt all the unwanted children? I was trying to come up with my own answer, so I thought maybe
Can you feel your anger in this?
Yeah, I have anger issues. I admitted I have anger issues.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It just seems a bit unfair.
Well, I feel what the big problem is our definition of what creates a parent. That's our big problem, right? And this is a big problem societally, but also from God's perspective. You don't own your child. You don't.
I know.
So whether this child came from some other procreative process, and nowadays there are a number of different ways, right, for that to occur besides a man and a woman getting together. And whether it came from that process or from adoption or from any other process, you don't own the child anyway.
Yeah, I understand
it's not yours.
that. And I think I came to realise this a while ago because I was...
So can I just point out, though, that if we want the child to be ours, there is already an addiction in play.
This is what I came to the conclusion was
Exactly.
that I was like, I really want to have a little mini me, you know?
Exactly.
And so that comes from a place of ego and all that kind of thing.
Now, those of you who've had children, have you found that they are a mini you? No, they never are. That's one of the first things you learn, right? The personality profile of the child has been predefined by God through the creative process of the child's soul, and it has nothing to do with you whatsoever.
Okay. Okay. So there's no reason why we weren't allowed to reproduce, but straight people were. It's just the way it is.
Well, it's just the way in terms of how your soul incarnated. You incarnated as two females, obviously, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the only thing that's affecting your emotions at this point about this issue is your definition of your child and how you're being controlled from not having your child.
Yeah, I see that.
And the reality is that is the problem with all the heterosexual couples having children generally as well. They all believe it's their child and it's got nothing to do with their child. They are creating two bodies that cause the incarnation process to occur. The only difference is you can't create if you just have a non-promiscuous and also, no sperm donor relationship in a lesbian relationship. You don't have that ability to create your own bodies for this new child.
It seems like it's a real big gift, and I feel like we don't have that gift. Is that a way I could put it?
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. However, my feelings are that the gift is really coming to understand that it's not your child.
So I could have the gift for an adopted child?
Yes.
And are there any ethical issues that you would raise with sperm donors and all that kind of thing and how lesbians have children? Or would you just say adopt is the most ethical way to do it?
I would say there are certainly huge ethical issues with how we go about procreation today. Firstly, any type of storage of cells that have been already fertilised. So let me give an example. So there are many processes that we can do today, IVF being one of them, where cells are fertilised and then kept in a fertile state in suspended animation of some kind, frozen in a fertile state. These kind of issues, this kind of process creates huge ethical issues from a soul perspective, because the instant the soul has been conceived, the body has been conceived, the soul is attached to it. You've now frozen this person who's incarnated from the spirit world in this state, and they can't grow, they can't change, they can't until something happens. Now, many of these fertilised cells get thrown away, which means that they all get destroyed, which means that a lot of people nowadays who are incarnating from the spirit world can't even live a life on earth other than in a frozen state until they pass into the spirit world, which is not obviously going to feel very good, and it doesn't. So there's that issue. In terms of receiving the sperm and actually just having a sort of an injection of the sperm...
Yeah, just going straight in.
Yeah, there's no problems with that, is there? One of them might find their way to fertilise the egg, and you could then...
And that's no ethical issues with that?
No, there's no ethical issues with that in any way that I can see, particularly if the person donating the sperm is aware of what they're creating in particular, and also they may wish to do it just out of love, like in terms of love for a person who doesn't have a child. And they may do that in a loving relationship of their own. So no, I don't feel there's too many ethical issues there. There are some ethical issues, and then there's other areas where there's not really that many ethical issues from a soul perspective.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
But I would look seriously at the emotion that causes you to want to have your own child.
Yeah, I just had a niece recently, and I'm getting a lot of joy from looking after her.
Mm-hmm.
So part of me has massively shifted. Well, maybe I can just spend a lot of time with my nieces and my nephews and my girlfriend's nieces and nephews, and we can be a really big part in their life, and maybe I don't need to have my own child. So. Yeah,
and I would suggest that once we've even got rid of the definition of my own, we would actually, it wouldn't even come out of your mouth much anymore.
Or the experience of being pregnant and giving birth.
Now, I understand how you might want to go through that experience, because that would be a very unique experience, but half the population doesn't have that experience.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And we don't seem to,
too bothered about it.
Too bothered about that. So every man on the planet doesn't have that experience.
That's true.
Yeah. And no, I don't know, but I know I don't want it. But so it's just a thought. But
as a woman, kind of, I don't know. Maybe that's part of our social conditioning.
Again, there's a lot of injuries in there. What defines you as a woman? Is it the ability to give birth, or is it the ability to do a lot of other things, which are the feminine expression?
It's one of the gifts we've been given. I would argue perhaps that we can be that close to...
Yeah, but what's happened on the planet now is many women don't even feel that they're a woman until they give birth.
Yeah, that's a problem.
This is the reason why we've got girls who are 10 or 8 years of age menstruating, is because there's this emotional pressure on them right from the time they're born or even before to become a woman by giving birth. Like as if giving birth makes you any more feminine than not giving birth. And honestly, it's way out of harmony with love. And it's also completely in disregard of all of God's laws of love, actually, to believe that the only thing that makes you a woman is giving birth.
Yeah, I don't believe that, but I can see it as you said, as an experience that I might want to experience. But it has to come from a place where it's not like, I want to create a little mini me, which is
exactly.
Not a good thing.
And it has to come from a place too where you don't want to... just have a experience because of selfish reasons.
Yeah.
Or, in other words, I want to go through the experience of being pregnant and giving birth. It's not a very good reason to have a child, to be frank. because there's another long process after that,
Well,
which
we'll be
is
a lot
far more
richer,
important.
that's for sure.
Yeah, and also bear in mind, like under your argument, half the population should be complaining, all the men, right? So this is where I feel you've got to be careful with a lot of our emotional processes. We don't understand a lot of what's driving our emotional processes. Does that make sense? And what's often driving it is a whole set of injuries that we've gotten from society and from our own childhood that then cause us to believe that we have to go through certain experiences in order to be complete. And these particular emotions, which drive us frequently, are very often out of harmony with love completely, and unfortunately, most of us don't even recognise it at the time. So it's very important, I feel, for yourself when you're considering these factors, to remember that half the population are in your position, where they can't have a child. Can we then say God's been unfair to them as well? Right?
That's a bit arrogant of me to say that.
Exactly. And also,
Getting told off by Jesus.
if you look at all of the underlying emotional reasons why you wish to have a child, in comparison, which you call of your own, rather than just have a child that you can love and care for, there are often quite large emotional injuries involved in that. That's worth looking at and working through.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That's good.